It's day 9 of this hairpiece. So some people have said I should stop whinging about the low density because it looks so good apparently. Can you see that extra bit of shininess there? It's a whiter or more silvery part all the way along the front. And right along the very, very tip, you can see right there, it's actually shiny, reflective with sweat or glue or something. Back here, any bits of glue that I had caught up in my hair has totally melted and made a big mess back here. A hairpiece should stay firmly on your head, right? But let's just examine how much hold there is now. That's where the shine was, right there at the front, and that's where it lifted back to. I really don't know why that front edge part has less hold than everywhere else. This glue, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, was Dublin green. It's going to be really hard to clean this front edge, but day 9, I'm definitely due to do a front hairline maintenance. Okay, so my thought is, first of all, get a baby wipe. These feel dried out. So I'm going to take the baby wipes, put them underneath, tap. Spread the water around inside. So they're damp again. Now, some people ask over the years, do you ever get any skin irritation? But the rest of their question is always from the glue. My answer is always no, the glue has never caused me irritation. None of the chemical products that I use have ever caused irritation. What has caused irritation are the baby wipes. When I spend too much time rubbing back and forward and causing abrasions. So just be careful, even though it feels soft, right? But if you rub it on your sensitive skin, it will make it red. Oh, sorry, one thing that's caused way more abrasions that I didn't mention was the bleach. You really want to bleach the hair pieces when they're not on your head. The bleach can cause burning. So glue is much easier to peel off when it's dry. So I should just maybe leave it back like that and then wait, because then when it's sort of dry, I can start peeling away. Temperature is currently 23.2 degrees Celsius, about 70, almost 80 degrees Fahrenheit, I think. It's very hot in this room. It feels hotter in this room than the rest of the house. But it is summer now. Let's see if I can just grab this edge part and do it without waiting for it to dry. No, it's just sliding, and slimy. But maybe I'm helping to dry it by doing this, so it'll take less time, maybe, to dry. Because I don't want to take off a bit at a time. I want it all to roll up into a ball. And to do that, it needs to be dry enough to achieve that rolling. And then hopefully it will just clean off entirely. But after 9 days of exposure to whatever the human body temperature is, that glue has definitely deteriorated. It was probably already deteriorated after the first 24 hours, to be honest, in summer. If you're cold in winter, it's a lot easier. Wearing a hairpiece in general. I just wish from the front, I just couldn't rip it up. I wish that was possible. There's something called a hard bond, and what they're talking about there is super glue. I think mine will just dry itself out, but it doesn't work at all. As you can imagine, hard plastic on your skin, it just, for a start of it, doesn't flex with your forehead, the way your body skin moves and everything. It doesn't move like this, like crunch, 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 crack, 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 flakes of super glue that fall into your eyes. It's absolutely a nonsense product. It can't work, just logically. And also, I tried it, it doesn't work. The only thing that I can think of that would work is stitching the hairpiece into the skin. Because I don't know that sweat is responsible for this glue deterioration. I've seen the same effect happen with lace as well. And we did talk about allowing your scalp to breathe, that comes from lace. But we're also trying to prevent the sweat buildup underneath the poly by using lace. But I've seen the same lifting going on with lace as well. So I really don't know what the solution is. I mean, Botox would prevent the sweat potentially if it stopped me from sweating around here. That could be massively helpful, I don't know. Could be dangerous to not be able to sweat out of your pores when you need to vent heat out of your body. I'm not sure what the medical problems would be. I really don't know what to do. It seems like every 2 days maybe, if you want a strong hold at the front, every 2 days, you have to change the glue. Or, like, you saw what I did for a week, that last video that I just released. That was ultra cautiousness. I didn't want any flip-flopping around with the front hair, and I achieved that by having a brush back look all week. I had a shower without scrubbing back and forth along the hairline at all. I didn't pick it when I was lying in bed for a week. And I just wore it brushed back the whole time. Never lifted it in any way. That's too much care. You need to be able to live your life. And you can't do it if you're always like, my hair's all fragile. It's not a good way to do it. I get the feeling though, because water doesn't really affect the glue in the hairpiece after it's sort of settled and whatever. You can go swimming. You can go swimming, probably surfing with a hairpiece. But if your big wave pushes all that back, if there's any slight lift there, right, and then a wave comes, or if you dive headfirst into a pool, or you go skydiving and in the wind, you've got like, I don't know, 10,000 feet to fall, right, and you're putting the goggles on and you're pulling the goggles off, you lift up that whole thing. So many potential problems. How about a staple gun? The glue that exists doesn't work. There is no glue that works. Today, though, I'm going to try something I never do. these just along the front, just see how it goes. There's GhostBond Original, GhostBond XL. That's GhostBond XL, that's GhostBond Original. And that one's GhostBond Extreme. Supreme. I don't know which one. Well, I could start with GhostBond Original because that's one that everyone can use as a sort of a measuring stick. So after this is dry, I'll peel that off and I'll put on 4 coats of this stuff onto the poly, not onto the scalp, because I want it to land properly, right? Shouldn't that work? I don't know. I don't really understand water-based glues. I know that if they get wet, they just dribble down white stuff all over the place, and if they're dry and you pick at it, it breaks into little balls and they just fall all over your hair like dandruff. Anyway, I've got to try something new. Okay, I've left it for a while. Probably as dry as it's ever gonna get at this temperature. I'm applying quite a bit of pressure here, try and get some kind of glue to roll. Yeah. Be careful not to stretch it as well. It really is not coming off very easily at the moment. It's just basically remaining melted. I made a video in the past that showed that I could just put glue over the top of the old glue, but that turned out to be a bit of a mistake. Because the objective is to make it hold strong to the forehead. If it's wet, nasty old glue with nice new glue, maybe the new glue will hold, but then this will peel off the new glue. So the objective is not met. I really need to be in an air-conditioned room or something for a long period of time to get this to dry out, but I really don't know. That's not practical. It is summer. Whatever lives those guys are having over there with friendships and stuff, I feel like that's probably what I'm supposed to be doing. Instead of suffering every day. People with abandonment issues are not part of society. And if they are, then they're lying about their abandonment issues. Or they're just being civil while they're really suffering extreme pain. Depends if they've had closure. Everything depends on closure. If the people who abandoned them gave them closure, or if they tricked themselves into not caring that they were abandoned, or they've had so many distractions along the way that the person who abandoned them or the people who abandoned them are classed in their mind as second-rate people, or some other bullshit excuse, then maybe they are getting on with their lives without dwelling on the past. thus far I have been unable to achieve that. My pain levels on a nightly basis are probably an 8 out of 10 emotionally. There's a numbness that comes with decades of suffering, so it's become normal. So, like somebody going through physical pain on a daily basis, which is awful. It becomes a new normal. This is not working. It's really not balling up at all. It's absolutely liquid. I'm not achieving anything. This is a waste of my time. So what I'm going to try next is disintegration. This is C22. It's designed to dissolve glue. So this will just be a mess and I'll wipe it off after just read these directions here. 60 seconds or so. Maybe I'll just do it now. Yeah, I really can't get, I'd be here all day to try to get this off. I've just got to just wipe off this tissue stuff. Seems to have been residually left. I'm just going to try to dilute that C22 because I am going to be applying more glue over the top of this. Be careful not to stretch it. As you can see, it's starting to get all corrugated around the edge. This is GhostBond. layer 1 of 4. Shit, this is gonna be hard to get accurate. So apparently you put on one layer, wait till it dries clear. That's not supposed to happen, I suppose. But it is water-based, so hopefully I can just wash it with water after I push it down. For some reason, they say 4 layers of this stuff. 4 thin layers. Well, that's a pretty thin layer, wouldn't you agree what I just did? It's pretty thin. I mean, how could I have made it thinner? I'm gonna wait till that goes clear and then I'm gonna put another layer on. Maybe just 2 layers. This glue is really a pain in the ass. I do have these things though. Maybe I should use that. Fuck off. I might have to throw out this hairpiece by the end of this because GhostBond's just messy. I really don't want it to dry, but I can't see a way to clean that. Can you imagine how hard it would be for me to pick that out nicely? I could dilute it, I suppose, but water's just gonna end up running down there. I'm gonna pull on the whole hair. I'm angry at people who recommend things that are shit. What's wrong with those people? Like, why would anyone recommend GhostBond? There must be some trick to it. Or some amazing amount of patience from the people who use it. I mean, everyone else is using this, or whatever, acrylic glue, normal glue. But there are some people, stubborn people, who keep insisting that GhostBond is the shit. It's taken a fucking long time. I should get that fan out of the car. Not right now. Too late. I'll come back when this is clear. That'll do. I can't be bothered waiting anymore. I certainly can't be bothered waiting for 4 layers, that's for sure. I don't want anyone telling me that I didn't do this properly, okay? Unless I didn't do it properly. But obviously, if I have to go back to putting it on my scalp instead of on the hairpiece, I wouldn't want to do that. Do you see how that would be a backward step for me, for anyone? Because I get 100% accuracy when I put it on the base. You flip it down and it lands. So if anyone recommends, oh yeah, just rub it all over your scalp and then press it down. It's like, but then I'd have to use the tape marking method or whatever else again. It's just, you'd be an asshole to recommend that now at this point. I've already evolved well beyond fucking tape marking and shit, just by using poly. So I'm not going to be going backwards just to accommodate some shitty glue. I'm going back in front of the air conditioning. How's that? Okay, let's try not to rip it all out. Here's the plan. I'll push it down, make sure there are no hairs in there. Try to water out the water-based glue at the front there. Man. Hope that whiteness goes away under there. You can see through the hairpiece into the white glue. And on the edges there where I put the alcohol, I probably should have waited for that to evaporate. At any rate, there's no way for the glue to be touched by any water at this point, so I will try to just see if there's some hold at all. There's hold at the front, but where that alcohol was sprayed, there's no hold yet. And there, where the alcohol was sprayed. Wow, this stuff has zero hold when there's alcohol. Hope it understands what sweat means. Look at all that mess. You can see all the white glue everywhere. I mean, through the hairpiece into the... You can see all the little bits of white glue fucking turning into dandruff all over the head. fucking hate GhostBond, man. Just stick. Look at that mess. I think I'm just gonna have to leave the glue in the hair till the whole lot dries. It's just too awkward. The whole thing's just too awkward. Anyway, I've got to go lie down and try to get to sleep. Can you see what's happening here? Look at all that whiteness. You can see right through. It's fucking messy shit. And then, so messy. I'm pretty sure I'm going to regret this. Lid. Alright, I guess I'll get back to you. I already regret using GhostBond. I really hope that I can get that glue out of my hair after it all dries. Good morning. It's about 11:15 p.m. Just woke up. This seems to be holding. This is the sugary Nescafe shit. Probably not that good for you. Then again, this is not great for the environment either. I don't even know if this stuff is biodegradable, to be honest. In the old days, you just had those "Please Keep Australia Beautiful" images, but now it's more about, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle, which is good. People have to care about that. But if they don't make stuff that adheres to that, it's hard for me to pick and choose things that don't exist. So I want to spray this. I know you're supposed to keep the glue away from water for 24 hours. Sorry, I'm just going to get it off. This is a plastic base, so it can't get through. Now the front hairs are going to have a bit of glue in them. I'm hoping that even though it's dried, it can still be removed, even if those hairs that have glue in them have to be ripped out. But this is a low density hairpiece, so it's not going to be that great if that has to happen. So I guess this is still day 9 of this hairpiece, and this is the video about the first front hairline maintenance. Oh. Alright, that's so bad. See, I was rough. I should have learned my lesson. Alright. So even unnecessary tugging is still really probably unacceptable with hair pieces. And it's probably the reason why a lot of my hair pieces fail so quickly. Don't tug back on it so hard like I do. Glue just can't be trusted. If we're going to see how long the maximum time is that glue can hold for its own volition, we can't add in things like yanking on it as hard as we possibly can. Fair wear and tear is okay, but grabbing the brush and just pulling back that hard, I mean, it's a real life test, but it's not the sort of test that we already know that the glue is incapable of. This is GhostBond though, so it would have been nice to be astounded by the fact that it made no difference at all, because it was super holy. Now, so far I'm impressed beyond what I thought would happen. I put 2 layers of GhostBond on. I pushed it down. Yes, I got glue all over my hair because I wasn't using a brush, I was just using my finger, which was clumsy. And I was a bit racist against GhostBond, to be honest. Prejudice. Because of all the rules of multiple layers and the 24-hour period of not being able to wet it and everything. But obviously, that 24-hour period of not being able to wet it only applies to lace. With poly, you can wet your head in the first 24 hours because it's all waterproof. So, these hairs stuck down? No, I just brushed them back. Okay. Now, see, now we're getting somewhere. That's lifting already there. I didn't use any real force on that. That's already lifted, so it wasn't that impressive, unfortunately. To be honest though, I don't feel like I put 2 nice layers on the front edge. And here's another problem. Because of the way this dispenses, it's going to be very hard for me to get in under there with this stuff now. Okay, so let's just say GhostBond is about 20 times messier than normal glue, acrylic glue. It balls up and turns into dandruff in your hair. It doesn't come with a brush, so you have to figure that out. Some people talk about disposable brushes. I suppose if I'm using disposable lipstick applicators, I can use a disposable brush. Though I've never seen a disposable brush for sale anywhere, or even seen a picture of one. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this with GhostBond. Any tips? She'll be right. Just push back down and wait. Do you reckon I could just trust it if I pushed it down? I have no sweat or anything. There's no sweat. There's now a bit of finger oil, but that should be gone. This is the same one I used yesterday. I need a palette to rub Just seeing how much that peeled back just then on its own goes to show that there's really not very much hold at all. No more effective than Yoo-hoo paper glue or Clag or something. Not really designed to stick to skin. Skin being a water-based almost product. But I'm more impressed with this application method than my finger. I was able to get a thinner layer. And the great thing about this, in one respect, is I can simply wipe off all the excess without worrying about massive amounts of residual florid glue at this point. Now I've got to remember also, this is GhostBond original. There are other formulas that they've got. There are about 4 or 5 different formulas. Like I've shown you, Supreme and extra large, XL. And then the one that people talk about, Platinum, which I don't think I've got. I am willing to consider it with poly. I'm not really considering going back to lace at the front hairline though. That's a disaster. Mewing, huh? Mewing. Holding your tongue to the top of your roof of your mouth for 10 years. So your face stops sagging or something. Then the other person talks about this pressure point. 50 of these a day. Maybe I should just do my left side. And then after a year, maybe just divide it and my right hand side looks like it's had a stroke. That's got to be dry enough, right? I really want to get it right up against the front edge, but I really don't want to get glue all over the hairs again. I'm thinking of trying to remember the lyrics to Down East to Alexa by Billy Joel. Well, I guess we made it to 4 layers, and they're definitely spaced apart. That's 24 hours, well, not 24 hours. It's many hours of doing the 4 layers. Okay, so I'll just wait for that to dry. Don't know what I'm going to do about that. This low density cannot afford to lose more hairs at the front, so I'm going to really scrape that out with a comb or something. Okay, it looks dry. You can see these lines forming at the back. This is not from GhostBond, this is from the acrylic glue. For some reason it goes dark all around the edge. And like I've said many times, lace is a better match for the back perimeter. This bit here has been folded ever since I put the hairpiece on because it's really thin. 0.03 millimeter poly wants to fold on itself just like that. But I've just let it be there like that. And there as well, there are 2 folds. It's not great, but it's fine. I'd rather it wasn't there. I'm not going to lift it up and compromise the hold to fix it. There were chunks of glue back here, they're probably still there, I just can't feel it at the moment. But basically I'm gonna have to clean all this up back here with some C22 probably. Just try to get any glue out of those areas. It's hard to do when the hair is wet. But back here, all along the perimeter, right there I can feel it's sticky, right? But when it's wet, it's hard to differentiate properly between stickiness and wetness. So I guess that's the next step. I'll clean that up when it dries. I'll just prepare it by separating the hairpiece from my natural hairs. I'm not going to peel that glue off because it's holding strong enough as it is. So I guess front hairline maintenance does include this as part of that job, which you should do probably every 3 or 4 days, not once every 9 days. This is 9 days. So you can see the reason that I had to change the glue at the front because it was just an absolutely weak hold, because glue deteriorates even without any carelessness. Because I was ultra careful for that last video for a week. But glue simply deteriorates due to heat from your body and from the sun or the room. But also, like I said, in winter time it doesn't deteriorate as much. But also, like I've said, poly holds the heat in like a greenhouse effect. It seems to be a fairly chunky bit of glue up there as well. So I've been playing Risk. They've changed it again. The developers have changed the game so that now people can't see what your rank is until after the game's finished, which is great for me because I'm now a Grandmaster, the highest level. So when players play me, they don't know if I'm a novice or a beginner or an intermediate or an expert or a master or a Grandmaster. So I can now just behave like I'm making stupid decisions, so they'll think I'm no threat, and then I'll just go in for the kill. It's changed my strategy and allowed me to win every single game I've played since they've done that, basically. Obviously, the game has a lot to do with whether or not you get the 3 trifecta artillery, infantry, and cavalry cards, so you can get 10 new troops to put on. Anyway, and also how much you roll with the dice. You get 2 dice or 3 dice, depending if you're defending or attacking. And also novices actually do, even though people deny it on forums, people do deny that novices get an advantage with dice rolls. But they do, they often do. Like they can attack a territory with 14 troops with about 7 troops and just trickle attack, you know, rolling 3 dice at a time, and they'll still win, which is bullshit. Anyway, after this dries, I'm going to consider the front hairline to be complete, apart from pulling out any glues that are going to be having to be sort of cleaned out at the front. And then I'm going to, I guess, rub in some C22 a little bit on the tip of a baby wipe and just try to clean it up neatly. This is day 9 at 6 o'clock. Is this in the right spot? It seems a bit too reflective. Is that better? I think that bar of light was shining in accordance with the direction of the camera right along there, so it needs to be down so you can see what the clock thing says. Alright. I should probably tell you that this perimeter maintenance that I'm doing in conjunction with the front hairline maintenance wouldn't have had to happen if I'd been ultra careful and not got any glues into these perimeter hairs. But it's hard to avoid that because it's all pressed up. But if you're ultra careful and you don't get any, the thing is when it was pasted on, it was hard, right? It was hard in the beginning. It didn't seem to be a problem. But those little bits of glue that are stuck in the hairs melt and spread over the period of a week or whatever. So, especially in the shower and lying in bed and sweating. So that's why I've had to do it. But you don't want a shortage of glue around that area either. So, because you want the back to stick down perfectly, right? The perimeter. Okay, so this is probably the right level of dampness now for me to be able to gauge everything without having flyaway stray, really dry hairs everywhere. The word dry in hairpiece land is kind of different from actually dry. There's always some kind of moisture, especially with glue drying. We're not really waiting for it to actually just dry completely. We want it to get tacky. Tacky isn't the right word for wet hair, but it's very slightly damp. At least keeps the hairs out of the way. Still stickiness there. I peeled that back a bit forward too far. Now that's got deteriorated glue as well, but I'm not going to touch that up because it's very low chance of me having leverage happening back here when it's just pressed down with hairs over the top of it, unlike the front hairline, which is always prone to leverage problems. So back here, there's too much stickiness there. That fold there and that fold there are annoying me, and I'm thinking pull the whole thing back, stretch it, and then push it back down again. But I really don't want to, at this stage, with 9-day-old glue, to stretch it out. After 14 days, you're really supposed to take the whole thing off, clean your scalp, shave the baby hairs off, and then reattach the entire thing. And that's only about 5 days away, so I'll leave it for now. Okay, so I just wanted to get any glues that was sort of stuck in here, in the hair, in my actual hair. So I'm going to take a baby wipe. Then you're going to go right ahead and spray some C22 right on there, right there, right there, right there. Not there, right there. I know I got on about Americans, but it pervades my culture. Is that right? Pervades. It's on television, movies, everything we see. People getting into the wrong side of the car, switching the light switch up to turn it on instead of down to turn it on. Driving on the left-hand side of the right-hand side of the road in America. Fahrenheit instead of metric. I saw on a website the other day, they give you a choice between which type of measurements, which units you wanted. Metric, which the world understands, the world uses, everyone in the world except America and I think some Middle Eastern country or something. Everyone else uses metric for everything. But the other one we all call imperial, like old style imperial from the ancient times, imperial. But Americans on that website call it English. So there's English in metric. No, that's not what it's called. Imperial. I did read the other day about where Fahrenheit came from. Yeah, I think I told you. Fahrenheit is based on Mr. Fahrenheit, can't remember his first name, deciding that the saltiest water solution he could make would freeze at 0. So he set that to be 0, and because he wanted multiples of 12, because 12 was the cool number in those days, because it could be divisible by 4 and 3, it was easier for fractions, etc. Say 1/3, 1/4, etc. Because they didn't like 2.5 and lots of stuff. And then he set the boiling temperature at something, whatever. I can't remember what it is. You guys who speak Fahrenheit know what the boiling point of water is in Fahrenheit, right? Anyway, this pushed the the freezing point to distilled water up to 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So, you know the saltiness level that he had in his lab, the amount of salt he had in his fucking cupboard that he could stir around and then freeze it, that determined, it seems very arbitrary, doesn't it? That he would try to find, water is H2O, it's abundant in the universe, mixture of hydrogen and oxygen atoms. Oh, sorry, God just put it there. No, it's a mixture of oxygen and hydrogen atoms. Oh, for humans, consumption only. That's the only reason it exists, by the way. Fuck, I can't get my head around the whole religion thing. Why are there still Fahrenheit and religion? Fahrenheit is semi-acceptable. It's just people who are stuck in their ways that just can't push forward and wear masks and all sorts of shit. Sorry about the Trump comment, by the way, in my previous video. I effectively put the blame on Trump for not enforcing mandatory wearing of masks and social distancing, etc. But I mean, when I listened to an interview with Michelle Obama, she acknowledged that when she was the first lady in her case, I really should wash up all this shit that there's an onus on the people in power to set an example. And with Trump being careless and saying that it's nothing really to fear, it's just like a cold, it's like having a flu or something, and ignoring the advice of medical experts and so on, he set the fear level. Fear, in the case of coronavirus, is good. But he didn't let the Americans get scared enough. While the rest of the world was locking it all down. Not the rest of the world. Some intelligent countries who thought, let's fuck the economy, but save lives. Because they were the two options, really, as far as governments we're concerned in terms of making decisions about that stuff. You can save people's lives and destroy the economy, or you can push forward, let everyone catch it, and then make sure nobody stops working or going to school. Now, I told you, we got our figures down to 0 cases, which said 5 international visitors from overseas come in. Now, the rest of the world is infected. It's like there's a bubonic plague, obviously not the death rate of bubonic plague, but the infection rate. And we locked our borders. But there are 5 new cases in Australia. Those people are in quarantine right now. There are 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That many people who've brought coronavirus into Australia from overseas. But they're locked down in quarantine right now. Until then, we had 0. So we're all hoping, let's not get 6. Let's not let more people into the country. Let's keep the borders locked down while we get this thing under control. I understand there are people, Australians, stranded overseas, probably. We need to get them back here. And I'm pretty sure they can all come back whenever they want. They just have to do the 14-day quarantine. But these are all sensible measures that save lives. So if I blamed Trump, potentially there are a lot of other people that I should blame. I think the commenters were saying that it's the people in America who haven't obeyed the rules or something. But the thing is, it seems draconian, right? To have police running around, and it was awful. There were people locked inside buildings and not getting proper food. They were given moldy bread. It was all awful, right? The whole thing's been awful. And the military were called in to shut off state borders so people couldn't drive their car across the border without a specific permit to cross the border. So families were separated. And awfully, some people died in hospital, unable to be with their family. It was all just FaceTime on the phone, just talking like that. Goodbye, I love you, watching them suffocate. I'm sure they didn't hold the camera over their faces while they were drawing their last breaths, but watching somebody die is always awful. Being there to hold their hand would be good. But in the case of this, I mean, if you read back through history and look at some of the bubonic plague stories, people had to choose whether or not to go and give care to their loved ones, knowing that they'll probably get the bubonic plague as well. It's all awful. It's shocking. So potentially you could let a family member decide. But then with the decision, then the person who's dying knows that my family could decide to come and visit me, but they're choosing themselves. I'm gonna die alone. Like, it's fucked, right? But we've got the case numbers down to 0. For now, until the rest of the world infects us. I'm pretty sure New Zealand's 0 as well. And you can't just say it's because of our low populations. It's the draconian police force shit we have to deal with. And I hate police trying to stop people experiencing everyday freedoms. I like them helping save innocent people from maniacs. I like that part of the police. I'm glad there are police and army. I'm glad they all exist. When I was a kid, it's like, why can't everyone just get along? And that was almost like, not only a question, but almost a statement. People should all get along. It's like, okay, let's just sit here and not put any fucking law enforcement in position. We'll just wish that everyone got along. Well, that hasn't held. But it seems to be holding well on this side. But then there's this glue build-up stuff happening here. So far, I'm really not liking GhostBond. But it has some hold. So far it's failed twice on the right hand side. Gets all in the hair much more easily than acrylic glue does. And it turns into little white balls of dandruff, as you can see. Now, I think I've put enough glue on all of that. So I'm just going to stick it down and hopefully it will bond. Because there's nothing I've done to add any kind of liquid in there that would tamper with the hold, except for potentially sweat. Here's another problem with low density. It doesn't cover over this dark line that develops on the perimeter. Look at that. I have said in a previous video, you should favor the overhang when it comes to the perimeter. And I probably should have here. You don't want a visible gap in there. But then again, you do not want overhang flipping around over there as well. Now with people who wear full toppers, I should probably always include you in my videos when I describe things, because the industry has only really sold toppers and most people just buy toppers. People who want partials, like I've developed, haven't thought there's a solution for them, and so they haven't been sold very much. And so some people on the internet say, well, you know what, more people buy toppers than partials. Yeah, well, that's because that's what's being sold. That's what I'm complaining about. More people would be buying, if they were being sold both of them, more people would be buying partials. There are more people balding than bald. If you disagree with that, then there's something wrong with you. People just don't go, ping, I'm bald overnight, do they? No. They gradually go bald. And during that gradual balding, they go, oh, fuck, I'm freaking out. I want to buy something that will stop this from happening. Rogaine, Propecia, whatever, finasteride. Oh, wait a second, I can stick pubes to my head. No, that doesn't look good. Is there somebody who sells some kind of netting or plastic that has hair coming out of it? That would be perfect. I just need some sort of glue or something else that would stick it in. Hair transplant. I've seen what people with hair transplants look like. It's like Christmas with the, was it Christmas with the Clanks or something? What's her name? Jamie Lee Curtis movie? When they've got the Botox and they can't smile and they're trying to drink and the water's just running down their faces because Botox is shit at that point in history. They didn't know to put a small amount or whatever else. So that's what people think of when they think of hair transplants. But then again, with hair pieces, people have a bad view because there was never, until I developed the bleaching of the front hairline technique, there was really no nice graduation unless you had less hairs at the front, and it just gradually came back. And then of course the glue was all spludgy all around the front. You could see through it and shiny in the daytime. And the worst problem is, of course, when you are wearing a hairpiece, is if it's not an exact color match and not an exact hair match. If you're wearing a full topper that comes around here, and that bit there looks different from that bit there, if that doesn't blend all in there, then everyone standing behind you in a line at the airport is going, they're judging the hairpiece fella. And if you happen to be older than me even, where you're looking in the mirror and you don't have a back mirror of any kind whatsoever, because you just thought, no, I don't care, the back of my head doesn't matter, right? And you've got a big gap. Then the hairpiece just comes to there and your bald spot goes to there. Or some other thing, hair color doesn't match at the back. Or you've got, bad hair eyesight and you can't tell if it's blended nicely. Old people give hairpieces a bad name. It's just because they can't see in the mirror properly, because mirrors haven't been invented properly. During my robotics phase, when I was, using 3D graphic design and 3D printing robotic arms that would do this, and you know, hello sir, can I help you? Like that shit. I started getting more and more into mirror technology with, you know, just standard one-way mirror with a LED screen behind it or something, where it would have camera, so that your pixel, and they would all logarithmically combine to create a front-on image. In the future, there won't just be one camera here and then the rest screen. Every pixel will be accompanied by a mini camera, the same size basically, or going through from behind the pixel, right? So you've got a grid. So if I put my hand there, that would scan, that would take video footage of my hand exactly, right? Or a scanner would come out and just make it accurate. So if I put my hand up against the mirror, that's what you would see. Like that, but just imagine that, right? That's not because I've just put it in the front of the camera there. It would just be cameras all across, and it would just combine and make the full image. Well, I don't know if that'll come before. We've got holograms and 3D representations with more scanning technology. But if you wanted to make a full-size mirror and record yourself, like if you turned around like this and you wanted to replay that, it'll just do it again, whatever you did to yourself, right? So you can see yourself properly. Freeze frame, zoom, whatever. See the back of your head? Does that look accurate? Mirrors have not really evolved much in the past 1,000 years. It's time for an upgrade. One thing you can do to improve your own mirror right now is make sure you've got a big light right over the top of your mirror. You don't want some light coming, like a down light coming. Look at this. This is the lighting in most people's bathrooms. I honestly can't see what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to stick that down and press it and hope it bonds, because that's not gonna really hold by itself. All right, so which is better? This lighting, which came with the house, or this light, which came for $45 off eBay? The reason I turned that light off is because it just got the fan and it makes noise throughout the whole video. Otherwise I'd leave that on as well. Okay, so you can still see the white glue all the way underneath this, right? I'm hoping that will somehow change color on its own. So a massive disadvantage of this is if you put this on the first day, you better not be planning to go out that day. Unless you're wearing a hat. It's not clear, it's not a clear glue, it's white. Big thumbs down. Anyway, I'll let you know how this goes. I'll probably publish this as it is now without giving you an entire week's assessment of how good. Yeah, this is fucked up here. I tried to clean that area, but probably too much of a gap or something. Gotta keep that brushed over. Probably just have to live with that. It's not good having glue around the back here. But I've cleaned it up, it's better than it was. All right, so this is hairline maintenance, day 9, and also GhostBond test.